We're back. Time for another edition of the Carolina Insider. Tell you what, let's recap the weekend. It's brought to you by Wells Fargo. Adam Lucas, Jones Angell. Let's get to it. Adam, we'll start with football. Yesterday, Pro Day in Chapel Hill. Every NFL team was represented. In fact, there was actually more scouts and player personnel representatives than there were teams. Carolina had 4 players that went through some work on the day. Josh Downs, Antoine Green, 𝗲𝗿𝗍𝗶, and Austin Richards. Noah Taylor was there, unable to go through work due to injury. Drake May threw to Josh Downs and Antoine Green. That caused a lot of excitement. And so, Adam, NFL draft sneakily close and great opportunity for those guys to make one more impression on NFL teams.
If you're Josh Downs or Antoine Green, it's nice to just have somebody standing around who's Drake May to throw you the ball on the biggest day of your professional life. You feel like you're probably going to look pretty good and get the ball where you want it. So hopefully all 4 of those Tar Heels had productive days. The draft coming up on April 27th. It's in Kansas City this year. As we know, it'll be a television spectacle, and numerous Tar Heels hoping to hear their names called early on.
We had extensive coverage of Pro Day through the Carolina football social channels, the Go Heels social channels, the easiest way to find that. Brian Simmons joined us. Brian, of course, played in the NFL after his decorated Carolina career. He was a scout for a long time in the NFL as well, so he understands the day and the ins and outs. And we talked to Brian about Carolina's personnel, about Pro Days in total. We talked to Mack Brown. We talked to 𝗲𝗍𝗶𝗍𝗍, who's now on Carolina's staff, of course, a long-time NFL career as well on the coaching side. So encourage you to check that out. We really did have some great coverage of Pro Day. Again, the easiest way is through the Carolina football social channels to find that content. Adam, of course, today is Tuesday. That means we had an audio podcast today as well. And for about 15 or 20 minutes during that audio podcast, we talked about all the basketball roster transition that continues. And the biggest news here since we last talked to you on this show, R.J. Davis announcing that he would return, Caleb Love announcing that he is entering the transfer portal. Obviously, 2 guys who have played a huge role for Carolina basketball over the last several years.
And as Jones said, went into this much more in-depth in the audio format, and so go there if you want hard-hitting, in-depth breakdown.
Of course.
But I think what you mostly hope for in this type of situation for both sides is that both sides come out feeling like they're better than they were a year prior. And so a year from now, we'll look back at this and say, hopefully Caleb Love has a great season wherever he ends up, and also, of course, hopefully the Tar Heels have a great season next year. This is also the answer to the question, why was it important to get started on some of this roster movement right now, rather than potentially competing in the NIT and prolonging some of this? I think it's really good to be able to get into this, figure out who's in, who's out, and be able to explore some of the other folks who are looking to come to Chapel Hill, which of course Carolina has been very active in doing.
Yeah, there's already been a lot of motion both in and out. So it's the new world of college basketball where you don't really know who's on your team until just a couple months before the season starts. So that will continue over the next several weeks, I'm sure. All right, let's get to some results on the field, on the diamond, on the court for the Tar Heels over the last several days. We'll start with baseball. They are ranked in the top 15 in the country, 18-6 overall. They're in second place in the Coastal Division. Their ACC record is going to be a little messed up through the rest of the year because they were unable to play 2 games at Pittsburgh a couple weekends ago due to weather. But Adam, when they were able to play all 3 games this past weekend was against Duke. Big crowds in Chapel Hill. Good series. Tar Heels end up taking 2 of 3 from the Blue Devils in what was a very competitive and well-played set.
Biggest weekend series attendance at 𝗪𝗲𝗼𝗽 Stadium since 2015.
Wow.
And they saw Carolina do against Duke what the Tar Heels have done against Duke here lately in baseball. Carolina's now won 4 straight series against Duke. They haven't lost a series to Duke at 𝗪𝗲𝗼 Stadium since 2009. And they won this one in the series clincher on Saturday behind really good pitching from Jake Knapp and then Will Sandy out of the bullpen. And Matt Horvath, who you're going to hear from later this weekend. The Space comes through with a 3-run home run that gave Carolina the 5-3 win in Game 3 of that series. Tar Heels hitting the ball out of the park at a national pace. They're in the top 3 or 4 teams nationally in terms of team home runs. They're going to have to do it away from 𝗪𝗲𝗼 Stadium after today. They're going to host Coastal Carolina, which is a really good midweek game. Coastal's a top 20 type team. But then after that one, they're on the road, going on a 7-game road trip, ACC series against Notre Dame and Georgia Tech, and a non-conference road game as well in Charlotte. But they've got something to look forward to, Jones, when they come back. When they come back to 𝗏𝗲𝗃 Stadium, might be a new video board waiting for them.
By the time you see this, that Coastal Carolina game will have already started, but it is a scheduled change. It was originally scheduled for 6 due to some potential inclement weather in Chapel Hill on Tuesday evening. That game bumped up to 4 o'clock for the Tar Heels and Chanticleer's final home game before that lengthy road stretch that Adam mentioned. All right, let's talk a little lacrosse. We'll start on the women's side of things. Tar Heels number 3 in the country, 9-1 overall, 5-0 in conference play, currently tied with Syracuse atop the ACC. 4 games remaining in the regular season. Their latest action was a win over Clemson, which just added women's lacrosse. Tigers are ranked number 22 in the country. First ever meeting between Carolina and Clemson in this sport, and the Tar Heels win it 17-8. 𝗪𝗏𝗍𝗍 a big part of that with her 3rd career hat trick. Tar Heels have now won 40 consecutive home games. Next time, though, they'll be on the road. They're going to South Bend to see Notre Dame on Saturday. And Adam, women having success in lacrosse and the men having success in lacrosse.
The women are in the heart of ACC play. The men kind of dipped their toe in. They're 1-1 in the league, but they've been out of conference here the last couple weeks. That was the case again this past Saturday. Tar Heels beat Providence 25-8. That's the 5th most goals in program history, but it's also the 3rd time this year that Carolina scored 25 goals in a game. So the offense is cranking for 𝗍𝗏𝗍𝗶𝗍's squad. This time they got 12 different goal scorers. That's the 4th time this year they've had at least 10 goal scorers in a game. Logan McGovern had 5 of them. It's his 3rd straight hat trick. Jones, what does that mean?
It's a hat trick of hat tricks, Adam. Double hat trick.
Yeah. So congratulations to Logan. The Tar Heels will take this weekend off to get their minds and their pets right for next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend, Jones, as we know, Dogs at Dorrance against number 3 in the country, Virginia.
That's next Friday in Chapel Hill. Bring out your dogs, both your lacrosse-loving dogs and your actual dogs, to Dorrance for Carolina and Virginia. Men's tennis, 14-5 overall, 6-1 in ACC action, tied for 2nd in the ACC. Successful weekend for them as they take care of Georgia Tech 5-2 and then Clemson 4-1. Heels have won 7 of their last 8, including 3 in a row on the road. They're back home Friday at 5 o'clock. They're hosting NC State, who's ranked number 25 in the country. The Tar Heels are ranked number 11. They finished their regular season 5 matches all at home. Women's tennis, number 1 in the country, 22-0, 8-0 in ACC action. They defeated Boston College and Syracuse this past weekend on the road, both those finals 6-1. And as we've talked about on the audio podcast, Tar Heels are a wagon for sure. They have 4 singles players ranked in the top 18 in the country, 2 doubles teams that are ranked in the top 13 in the nation, and the results show that. They've got a couple tough matches coming up at home when they host Florida State and Miami over the next few days. All of their matches remain at home as well. 5 matches left in the regular season, all in Chapel Hill. Adam, that's not all, though. Softball got a big series win this past weekend.
When you're an ACC team and you go up to Boston College to play outdoors in the month of March, you just hope to get the series in. Softball did better than that. They won the series. That's their first ACC series win this weekend. Had a 6-run sixth to come back from a 3-0 deficit. Bree Stubbs had a couple hits, and she's now got 125 career hits as a Tar Heel. Carolina comes back home briefly to host ECU tomorrow. Then they're back on the road heading to Virginia this weekend. Those 2 teams are close to each other in the standings, so chance for the Tar Heels to climb up a rung.
All right, let's burn through these last few. Men's swimming and diving finishes in the top 25 at the NCAA championships. Particularly congratulations to Anton Down-Jenkins, named All-America on the 1 meter platform, or the 1 meter springboard as far as diving is concerned. Also, freshman Lewis Drum, an honorable mention, All-America in the 400 individual medley. Gymnastics gets into NCAA action. They have a dual meet with Arizona. That comes up on Thursday. Congratulations to 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗍. She was named first team All-America on bars for gymnastics. There you see Lolly. Congratulations to her. And of course, our thoughts are with our good friend Eric Montross. Announced earlier this week, Eric is battling cancer. You know that we love you. Big grits. Thanks for joining us here on the Carolina Insider.